all, and you are watching the Mojo Story. The emerging rivalry between Indian and Pakistani javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra and Arshad Nadeem offers a rare glimpse of unity amid the strained India-Pakistan relationship. Remember, Neeraj won the silver and Arshad Nadeem won the gold at the Paris Olympics in the javelin throw. Their mutual respect, along with the warm sentiments shared by their families, like Arshad's mother calling Neeraj her son and vice versa. Neeraj's mother also saying that Arshad is just like her own son. This goes on to show how sports can transcend tensions between the two countries. So, in a time when cricket is on hold and hockey has just faded, this javelin rivalry provides a new platform for healthy competition and shared pride. So, how can sports play a part to resolve the deep-seated issues between the two countries, or can they in fact play any part or help to make bridges between the two countries? We're joined by an eminent panel to discuss this. We joined by Major General Dhruv Katoch. He joined us. Welcome to show, sir. He's a defense expert. We're also joined from Pakistan by Maid Ali, who's a senior journalist. Welcome to show, Maid Saab. And we're joined by DP Srivastava, is a former ambassador. Welcome to the show, Srivastava, sir. Let me first, before I go to the guests, let's play that short clip of what the mothers of Arshad and Neeraj had to say when reporters in both the countries asked them what they had to say about the other player. Hear it first, and then we can go to our panelists.
मेरे बेटे अर्शद नदीम का भी दोस्त भी है और भाई भी है ते वो हार जीत तो अपने किस्मत की होती है और वो भी मेरा बेटा है इंशाल्लाह ताला कहंदे हुंदे उसनों भी कामयाब करे अल्लाह मियां उसनों भी मेडल जीतन की तौफीक देगा
हर किसी दिन किसी एथलीट का दिन होता है आज अरशद का दिन था
Right. So that was a small sort of a small film that we had made on the what their mothers had to say and what the players had to say in mutual admiration for each other. Major General Dhruv Katoch, is there a potential for sports to help in any way in improving the relation at this point in time? What was very important, significant was when we were watching those videos on the social media, people from both India and Pakistan were just saluting both the players and their mothers for what they said and what they did.
Thank you, Zafar. Zafar, let us not fool ourselves. There are some things when we're looking at two individuals, I appreciate both the individuals, right? There are many sporting persons in Pakistan whom I appreciate, and I understand that there are many sporting icons in India who are loved in Pakistan. But you see, that doesn't cut into the very fundamental of relationships between the two countries. And if you don't address the very fundamental issue, then no other issue really matters. Here, the fundamental issue took place because it is based on ideology, and Pakistan thinks of itself as the other. So Pakistan is what India is not. That is the fundamental problem. And it doesn't matter what road you traverse, right? You may pretend to be friends, you may actually have iftar parties, and you may, celebrate many things together, and you continue with those aman ki ashas. It doesn't work. If you want friendship between the two countries, it is not on the sports field. Please leave all that out. In fact, you can remove all sports, all cultural contacts. None of that is going to make a difference. It will only make matters worse. You need one thing only. You tell Pakistan to stop cross-border terrorism, period. All differences can be resolved if there are differences, but you cannot have one party trying to peddle in guns and saying, okay, we will go this path, but we will talk. It is the same thing with Chinese. Chinese were saying, okay, we will talk. Everything else can carry on. We can have problems on the border, but we can have trade. We have told them no. These things are very hypocritical. It looks they give excellent sound bites. It gives somebody a very good feeling. Okay, हमारे दो बीच में दोस्ती है, भाईचारा है, and how good am I? How noble are we to have these feelings? Okay, that's all fine. That doesn't resolve the ground situation. That doesn't resolve the problem. I mean, I feel so. When people talk about this, if Atal Bihari Vajpayee could go all the way to Lahore and then proclaim there that we will become friends, and at that very moment, more than 200 terrorists had already crossed over into Kargil, and then we talk of Aman ki Asha and peace. It doesn't work that way. So I think we are destined to be hostile to each other, and it is better that we learn to live in that aspect. Okay, we have tried for 70 years plus. Friendship karo, dosti karo, ye karo, it's brought you nothing. Let's try 70 years of something different. Let's say, okay, we are enemies. You stay where you are. You've chosen your country. You wanted a different country. You got it. Now stay there for God's sake. We don't want you. You don't want us. It's a very happy state of affairs. Be what you are. Then stop interfering. Let us. If we cannot learn to live as friends.
Would you? Yes, Maitsab, would you agree to this, that it is two individuals who have done good in sports, and it's very momentary, of course. People appreciate their efforts, but the fundamental issues between the two countries remain unresolved. Till the time there is a focus on those fundamental issues, nothing is going to change. It may be news for a day, good for headlines. People from both countries may love the sports and appreciate each other, but that's not going to change the situation on the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you see, it's not Pakistan interfering in Indian affairs or Pakistan peddling terrorism in India. It's vice versa. Whosoever is talking about it, I don't know the gentleman on the other side, his name I have forgotten.
His name is General Dhruv Katoch. Yeah.
General Saab, I have great regard for everyone. But when it comes to talking about terrorism, India has carried out many operations in Pakistan. We've just unearthed one involving 12 people killed in Pakistan. Then India has also problems with Canada. India is having problems with the US as well. So India just can't take a higher pedestal on terrorism or on any such other thing. India does what it does, and if Pakistan is involved in terrorism, if you believe so I think let things be the way they are. I agree to that context with General Saab, but India is not innocent at all. I've gone through the terrorist activities carried out in Pakistan through Balochistan and through Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. There have been 18 incidents where we found Indian involvement. Let me complete.
Yeah.
Let me complete.
Yes.
18 incidents involving over 60 deaths. So it's not, India is not that innocent, and don't try to sort of portray yourself as
right.
victim. Don't play that victim card anymore.
Right, Maitsab, but India has always been saying that please give us proof. The proof has not come from Pakistan, but we're talking about the sports. Javelin, that when we talk about these two players, the way that their mothers spoke and the way that two players have mutual admiration for each other, the way that they spoke about each other, they're friends. And that provides a glimpse of hope that at the level of people, at the level of those who are individuals in both the countries, they're good with each other. In fact, they respect each other. When Neeraj Chopra's mother was asked that how does it feel that your son didn't get the gold, she said, Arshad is also like my son. And when Arshad's mother was told, that she said the same thing. She said that I prayed for Neeraj also. So those are also some things that we cannot ignore. That is why I was asking that is there. We know that the fundamental problem between the two sides. Right on today, there's an encounter going on in Anantnag in South Kashmir right now. There is this exchange of fire that's going on. These things are happening on the ground. That's a reality that we have to accept. But these are certain things that do they have the potential to diffuse the tension? That's what I'm asking. But let me go across to Ambassador Saab. Ambassador Saab, do you think that this, what we saw, generally we see rivalry, cricket, particularly two teams, but here we saw that one Pakistani athlete won the gold medal, Indian athlete won the silver medal, but there was respect for both the players from both the countries.
Well, let me add to that, not just respect, there was affection. But,
Yes.
The ties between individuals. I have served in Pakistan, and I have very warm feelings for many Pakistani friends. And, it was my privilege to know some of the most illustrious people there. But the fact remains that the people in Pakistan do not decide the state policy. It is the army. There's an old saying that Prussia was the Prussian army was, it was an army with a state. In case of Pakistan, army is the state. And army, for whatever reasons, has decided to create this narrative of a perpetual enmity. I just mention a statement made by General Asim. This is just 2 days back, addressing a conference of clergy. General Asim said that nobody would be allowed to violate the Sharia in Pakistan's constitution, which is very interesting. The general preaching to the clergy about the scriptures, it should be the other way around. And then he added, I don't see the connection, but obviously there's a connection in his mind that, there were people who thought that two-nation theory has been buried in Bay of Bengal and they have been proved wrong. So this is the army chief speaking, using religious idiom to revive two-nation theory. And in the recent developments in Bangladesh, I have no comments, but, the Pakistani general neither sees, any impulse for democracy nor any economic issues. He goes back to two-nation theory. And the biggest, irony is that Pakistan has refused to take Biharis, who have twice sacrificed for Pakistan. In 1947,
you raised a very important issue. That's what is happening in the neighborhood. What the developments in Bangladesh. General Dhruv Katoch, we saw those developments, dramatic visuals that came out from that country, and even today, people have get out the Supreme Court and they asked the Chief Justice to resign. They given him 1 hour or 2 hours, and he has accepted that he's going to resign. Now, these are developments taking place in India's neighborhood. Do they have an impact on the equation between India and Pakistan, the relationship between India and Pakistan, or these are isolated from what's happening between India and Pakistan?
Zafar, everything will have an impact because when we are looking at when you're looking at the region, what happens in one region will always impact what happens in the other. So what is happening in South Asia impacts each one of us, and it will also have an impact. What is happening in Bangladesh now, while it is internal to Bangladesh, will have an impact on everything else in Asia and in the wider region also. So I've got no doubts about that. But to say that there can be an impact in a sense that it can lead to a positive or a negative change. No. So what is happening in Bangladesh will not impact in that sense the relationship which India holds with Pakistan as of now. It won't make the relationship worse, and it certainly won't make the relationship better. So India-Pakistan relations are on a separate footing. For whatever reasons we have our problems, and those problems, I'll be bold to say, are going to continue. They're not going away in the near future. With Bangladesh, it is a different issue. We had a very warm friendship, and I have a feeling that that is going to be corroded to a very great extent now. It doesn't work that a situation of that magnitude which has taken place, which has taken a country on the path of fundamentalism, and then to presume that everything will be back to normal, I don't think that is going to happen. So our relationship with Bangladesh are going to be impacted, despite the fact that there are very, very strong linkages on many counts which still exist. But there will be an impact. And that relationship with Bangladesh, I don't think is going to impact our relationship with Pakistan, which is premised on one very fundamental equation. Will you stop terrorism or not? If you're not, okay, carry on. We'll take it. There's no problem at all. And then there are consequences both ways. So I think we'll take the consequences and we'll do what we have to do. Pakistan can do what they have to do. I've got no problem with their policy. They have made their choice. They're an independent country. I respect other people's choices. You made your choice. Please respect our choice. We made our choice too. We will do what we have to do. Zafar.
Right. Maitha, as General Katul was saying, that what happens in Bangladesh will have an impact in India. Of course, the change of government there and what's happened. Sheikh Hasina has come to uh, India. But do you think the developments in Bangladesh will also have an impact internally in Pakistan? We've seen that it's been building up for a long time. Pakistan, there's elections which many say were rigged, and the popular leader has been jailed. People are angry on the ground. There is inflation. There are economic issues. Could there be a possibility of Bangladesh-like situation developing in Pakistan, or that's too far-fetched to say?
Well, at the moment, I think that the change in Bangladesh, the recent events and everything, if at all they'll have any impact in South Asia, they'll have an impact on Pakistan. I think the situation is quite similar, was quite similar in Bangladesh, and we too have our problems, similar problems. As you said, elections were rigged. As you said, and there is a lot of resentment among the people, especially in the backdrop of that February 8th, I would call it a catastrophe that shouldn't have happened. The party that had won more seats should have been given its due. It was not. Secondly, we have economic issues which have aggravated now after signing this IMF uh, agreement recently. We have power crisis, we have financial crisis. So there's very the people are angry. The people are really angry about it, and the classes are now emerging quite clearly. There's a privileged class, which is a very small number, and there's that unprivileged class. We say that we've got 50% people beneath the poverty line, but there are 72% who just can't make it. So it's a huge number. It's a huge number, and that cannot be sort of ignored like that. And there is a problem at hand, and people are drawing parallels with Bangladesh, whatever happened in Bangladesh. But I think it will take some time. I just cannot rule out the possibility. It can happen. It needs just one incident to trigger the people's sentiment, and once it is triggered, it's very very hard to handle. And we have a severe problem in our frontier provinces like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and there is a resentment amongst people. But I hope I'm not saying that it can be done, but I hope Pakistan sails through this period and there's some normalcy. But at the moment, no, we have a deadlock between two giants, head of a political party and the establishment, and that is, I think the present government, it doesn't hold any ground, as far as the ballot is concerned. It doesn't enjoy the people's support. including PMLN and the People's Party. But I hope that it doesn't get out of hand. Once it does, it will be very hard to handle, because it could be worse than Bangladesh, and I hope it doesn't happen.
Right, and that's perhaps the reason that army chief in that interaction with the cleric said that army is going to stand in between if there is sort of uh, pouring of people on the roads, perhaps in that context. But Ambassador Saab, is it time, perhaps what we're seeing, the situation is very bleak. There's no change on the ground. India does not go to play in Pakistan. They play at a neutral venue, even in international championships like World Cup and other games. India doesn't go to, as far as cricket is concerned, because that is a sport that everybody in both the country loves. But when it came to this sport of javelin throw and with two individuals, it sort of brought cheer to the people. There was no such sort of acrimony or uh, bad feeling from any side. Do you think it's also perhaps time to reconsider cultural and sports exchange at some level?
Zafar, as I said, I have lived in Pakistan. I have still a lot of friends there. But let's not fool ourselves. Sports is not going to change the direction of the state. Certainly not in Pakistan. If you want to make a beginning, at least make a beginning with trade and investment and transit. India has extended most favored nation treatment to Pakistan since inception of GATT, and this is Article 1 of GATT, and this was continued after WTO came into existence. Pakistan denied this to us, and so it's a 75-year history. Whenever the civilian leadership tried to do something, and let me just recall Zardari, sometimes, there's a problem of image, which I think is unfair to him. He tried to make a change. Nawaz Sharif tried to make a change, but the army stopped them. So if there's no willingness to move forward on the basics, how can you expect that, simply by playing hockey in a third or football in a neutral venue, you're going to change the situation? Let me also address, the previous question, and I agree with what Mahit Saab was saying. I started by referring to General Asim's statement, and as you pointed out, this was a warning to people in Pakistan, and he was giving the warning to the clergy, to the mullahs, because the change in Bangladesh has been brought about from that direction, that nobody will be allowed to create problems. And the reference was to TTP, which is again a progeny of the the army establishment and the clergy. So given the deep problems being faced by Pakistan, I don't think Pakistani establishment has any capacity or mood to make an about turn in a policy, change in a policy which they have followed for more than 75 years. So I think we need not, deceive ourselves that by simply opening the sports channel, we'll be able to change the direction of interstate relations.
Right. They cannot be isolated, insulated from what's happening. There are Dhruv, I remember maybe 10 years or 15 years ago, I covered when those exchange points were established in Poonch, in Uri, and there was cross LOC trade happening, barter system. Of course, it was not based on the exchange of currency, but a barter system. But there was cross LOC trade, and a bus service was started for divided families. All that ended about a decade ago. That ended both in Poonch and now India has been following a particular policy. Do you think that is paying dividends, that is helping in the long run, or there's a time to rethink at that policy that okay, we will not have any exchange, we will not have these bus cross LOC buses unless and until fundamentals are going to change. Do you think that is really working, or there is a need to have a relook at that?
No, I think the fundamental policies which is there now, that should continue. You see, at any point, there will always be a track to operating, and that is operating even now. So there is between the government of India and the government of Pakistan certain contacts, etc., which take place, and they will take place at the track 1, track 1.5, track 2, 2.5 level, and that is under the radar. So those initiatives will continue, and the Indian Foreign Office is totally aware of what is happening. So to that extent, we don't say that we break contact completely, and I won't talk to you, and you don't talk to me, and you don't exist. So that there will be that level of connection or connectivity between the two. But beyond that, it doesn't really work. You see, if you want something to work, then there should be some concrete results. Now, that trade is not going to give you any of those openings. What we're talking about, if you open that Pooch border and say, okay, a little bit of people can come in here and something like that. No. You see, you have to address the fundamental issue. If that issue is sorted out, then there is no cause to fight. And that issue not got to be. You see, everybody keeps telling me Kashmir is the issue. I've always maintained Kashmir has never been the problem between India and Pakistan. It is the ideology. So it is because of that ideology that Kashmir has come in as a problem, and you can't, unless you sort out the fundamental problem, nothing else is going to change. And I'm totally with the ambassador when he says, that if you the foreign policy as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan's foreign policy with respect to India, the United States, and China is not controlled by the government of Pakistan. It's controlled by the Pakistan army, and they will dictate what they want. They will dictate what has to be done on the ground. And if for the Pakistan army, when I look at it and sitting as say and I'm viewing it as if I'm the Pakistani chief, the point I would bring out is, if India and Pakistan are going to be friends, then what is my role in Pakistan? They've got no role left, you see. It's not going to happen. And as one of the former chiefs said, if India and Pakistan were to live together, then why did we separate? It doesn't make any sense, So they, in Pakistan, in their military leadership, in their political leadership, the thinking is very clear. I think we should have a similar clarity in our thinking also. These things are not going to change. So let us learn to live with them. Let us not try to build artificial, sort of goodwill nests and all. Okay, this can happen and everything will be for the good. It doesn't work that way, right? But we can live in hostility. There's absolutely no problems. I've told many of my Pakistani colleagues, it is better to live as enemies and exist than to, pretend to live as friends and have problems all the time. It doesn't work that way. That is the way I view it. Zafar.
Mike Saab, do you think that there is, of course, there no formal contact between the two sides, but do you think that track 2 is working somewhere and there is something happening behind the closed doors, or nothing of that sort?
I know of. I don't know. Maybe there's no harm in having a back channel contact with India. There's no harm in it, But I don't know of any. Being a journalist, I don't know of any. Recently, India is I think it's not on the agenda at the moment of the Pakistan establishment and its government, because we have problems of our own. India is on the back burner at the moment, as far as I see things. Yeah, we are having skirmishes, we are having problems, but that also points to the fact that Prime Minister Modi has been very hostile towards Pakistan all along. I think his third tenure started right now. So he's never been for any sort of rapprochement with Pakistan. He's aggravating the standoff every time he does something, talking about Kashmir, talking about other things, and we'll cross some LOC and we'll cross into Pakistan. This rhetoric helps him at the electorate, but it won't help in sort of him or his government overpowering Pakistan's resolve to stand its ground. And there'll be retaliation, and there'll be
Mates up,
there will be
mates
bad
up,
blood.
I get your point. I know that there is a ceasefire on the borders, on the line of control, which is holding on, more or less. There are infiltration bits, but what is happening internally? We've seen that there is an escalation in violence, in terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. If we can have those sketches up now, on today, Jammu and Kashmir police released sketch of 4 people, 4 terrorists who are active in Jammu region. Now on the screen, these are the 4 people, 4 sketches released just today. So situation on the ground is different. There may be a ceasefire on the line of control, but internally, actually things have aggravated and spread to areas which were more peaceful until now, like areas in Jammu region where we see escalation in militancy and terrorism. How do you see these developments helping? Of course, these are people, these are weapons that are coming from across. How is this going to help on the ground? You have to have, that's what is evidence. If situation has to improve, then these things have to end, and then there can be the next step. But when the first step is not taken, how are we looking at the second step and the third step?
Well, I agree with you. If this terrorism free or whatever you want to call it, we call it freedom struggle, you call it terrorism, and vice versa. We call whatever is happening in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa terrorism. You call it freedom struggle. I am not going into jingoism. But I agree to the extent that in such a situation, with such things on the ground happening all the time, with people getting killed on either side of the divide, I don't see any hope of any sort of negotiations or goodwill gestures, or like ambassadors have said, opening of borders and trade and everything. These things come quite late. We have to go a long way before we reach that point where we could talk and we could sort things out, and where we could have trust in each other. And trust is the basic thing. If you want to blame Pakistan Army as it has been blamed, or the establishment that we call, I will not contest that. But we have a very radical government in India. It doesn't want any good relations with Pakistan. They have not taken any initiative. I remember Modi Sahib coming to Pakistan at Nawaz's place, but since then he's been quite aggressive. So in such a scenario, in such circumstances, it is very difficult.
I remember when Prime Minister Modi went to Pakistan, but that was followed by Pathankot and other incidents. So obviously, situation it didn't help. But ambassadors are coming to you. What we started as the sports, 2 athletes from 2 countries winning gold and silver for the 2 countries, and being cheered and admired and loved by people from both the countries, and the mutual admiration and respect they have of each other, and their mothers speaking. That was the starting point of this discussion. But we are about to end this discussion now, but it seems that it is not going to help much. These are isolated events, but what is the hard realities between India and Pakistan are going to exist, and they're not going to go away.
Zafar, let me put our discussions, we are coming to an end. Let me put our discussions in a broader context. Why is it that Pakistan is at loggerheads not only with India, but with the 2 neighbors to the west? And both of them are Muslim countries, Afghanistan, which is a Sunni majority, and Iran, which is a Shia majority. So there's a problem inside Pakistan. And that problem has to be addressed. I think General Katosh made a very pertinent point. This is the ideology. And that ideology, I'm not suggesting any change in boundaries. I'm not suggesting any, change in population. I'm suggesting at least Pakistan has to decide how far that ideology which it has chosen is going to help it survive the challenges of 21st century. And then we come to the other issues. And as Mahit Saab said, that right now India is not an issue because there are bigger issues of survival internally. They have just got the new budget, and the total federal government's total revenues are short of meeting the debt repayment requirement of that country. Now, this is a huge challenge. This is called debt trap. So, let's not, deceive ourselves. This is not the time to talk about sports and so on. We wish them best. And it's not just the sports. They are very good at poetry. I love Urdu poetry. But, incidentally, I come from Lucknow, and I always used to tell my Pakistani friends that Urdu is our language. But they have to sort out their internal problems, which are very deep. They have to work out their relations with their immediate neighbors. They have to realize that
we come to the end of our discussion. Actually, we started with those images of two sports persons from two countries doing very well, and we hope that more people, more sports stars will come up and do good for their countries, at least give momentary cheer to the people, and we get this opportunity of hearing from the mothers of love and respect for their children and for the others, for opponents also from the other country. Thanks so much for joining us, all our panelists, and thanks so much for watching the Mojo Story.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.